J.D. Vance is perfectly valid to bring this up because that parole authority that they're using to do that is illegal. There's nothing in statute that says the president can grant parole to 30,000 Haitians a month, just because he wants to. That's not what the law says. So J.D. Vance was perfectly right to bring up this program and to question it. And instead of engaging on the debate or having Walz answers, instead the moderators shut down the mic and prevented all debate, which is exactly the opposite of what a vice president's debate should be.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with commentary editor Conn Carroll. Conn, Tim Walz and J.D. Vance squared off on their first and only vice presidential debate this week. It was actually surprisingly focused on policy, and it was surprisingly nice.
Yeah.
Kind of a refreshing change of pace. And one of the policies that came up and that has come up on the campaign trail is Kamala Harris's housing plan.
Yes.
But Tim Walz might not have the best grasp of what's in that, right?
No. So actually, there was a lot of bipartisan agreement, consensus on the stage last night. And unfortunately, they missed an opportunity to agree on housing. So housing has all of a sudden become a big issue, which I think is great. I think housing is very important. It's the reason why a lot of us, not a lot of us, why a lot of people aren't getting married as early as possible because they can't afford a home. So the more affordable homes can be, the better for everyone. But the moderator, Margaret Brennan, was very accusatory when she talked to Vance about the plan. She wanted to know where exactly Vance wanted to seize federal land.
Right, like geographically.
Right. I just also thought it was funny that she was going to use the word seize to describe federal land because it's federal land. The government already seized it. That's why it's federal land.
Right, exactly.
But anyways, she wanted to know where specifically Vance and Trump wanted to use federal land for housing.
Where are you going to seize the federal lands? Can you clarify?
Well, what Donald Trump has said is we have a lot of federal lands that aren't being used for anything. They're not being used for a national park. They're not being used, and they could be places where we build a lot of housing. And I do think that we should be opening up building in this country. We have a lot of land that could be used. We have a lot of Americans that need homes.
And Vance had a very great answer. He's like, look, there's tons of federal land out there that's not being used. It's not national parks. That's not wildlife designation. That's not currently being leased for oil and gas. A lot of it is near urban centers, particularly out in places like Utah, Nevada. People don't realize this, but like 63% of Utah is federal land. 45% of California is federal land. Over 75% of Nevada is federal land. A lot of these places, a lot of the land could be used for housing. And so then they asked Walz his opinion. And so then Walz goes off on this big thing about how, we have to protect the environment. We don't want to give away federal land, including for housing, that there's other ways we can do this. What Walz apparently didn't know is that Kamala Harris, as part of her housing plan, actually agrees with the Trump administration.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She also wants to identify federal land that's not being used and then give it to developers who can then develop it for housing, which would build more houses, which would lower the cost of housing. So I just wish Tim Walz and Margaret Brennan, for that matter, had read Kamala Harris's plan and realized that there's actually bipartisan agreement on the idea of using federal land to give developers and build more houses.
Well, Margaret Brennan did read up on Springfield, Ohio. She was prepared, despite a rule against doing so, with a fact check about the legal status of the Haitian migrants in Springfield. And I actually think that was one of J.D. Vance's strongest moments when he sort of took control of the format and gave a lot of context to the sort of Haitian legal status debate there.
Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
Thank you,
the
Senator.
Facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by
Thank
our
you,
own
Senator, for
leadership.
describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something.
Tell us about what J.D. Vance did.
Right. So, like you said, before the debate, the moderator said they were not going to fact check. But then, after J.D. Vance, in a long answer about immigration, talked about the migrants in Haiti. And I don't think he even called the migrants in Haiti illegal immigrants, but he did say illegal immigrants, and he talked about how it was affecting communities like Haiti. like Springfield. And then Margaret Baird volunteered. It's not like she said, hey, Tim Walz, do you want to respond to that? She just volunteered on her own. By the way, you know, the Haitians are in Springfield have temporary protected status. To which, you know, J.D. Vance then responded, hey, look, you know, that doesn't tell the whole story. And he's 100% right. You know, when he then launched into the explanation of the CBP-1 app. So the CBP-1 app was actually originally created by the Trump administration, but they did not create it for Haitians trying to get into the United States.
Right.
It originally was created for truckers to get across the border. So you're a trucker, you have a load, you're trying to get from, say, Mexico City to San Antonio, you're going to cross the border. You would use the CBP-1 app to arrange an appointment at the U.S. border to go through quickly. Biden uses this app, changes it, and then uses it so illegal immigrants from places like Haiti can make an appointment at the border to get paroled into the country. And through this way, the Biden administration is importing 30,000 otherwise illegal immigrants into the country every month, and has, over the course of the administration, imported 500,000 illegal immigrants into the country using this application. And J.D. Reince is perfectly valid to bring this up because that parole authority that they're using to do that is illegal. There's nothing in statute that says the president can grant parole to 30,000 Haitians a month, you know, just because he wants to. That's not what the law says. So J.D. Vance was perfectly right to bring up this program and to question it. And instead of engaging on the debate or having Walz answers, instead the moderators shut down the mic and prevented all debate, which is exactly the opposite of what a vice president's debate should be.
Right. And I think, you know, the Springfield issue had burst onto the national stage in the presidential debate, where Trump quite famously said they're eating the dogs and the cats. That at the time was considered a gaffe. He got hit with a bunch of fact checks. He got rebuked by the moderators. But over time, the level of interest in the Haitian migrant situation in Springfield and beyond has reinforced the narrative that the Biden administration has let way too many people into this country. Do you think that that has sort of, rather than be a mistake, like eating the dogs and cats, and this focus on Springfield has kind of changed some of the discourse about immigration?
Yeah, I think it has elevated in the issue nationally. Anytime we're talking about it, I think it does help. But, you know, even before that line about the dogs and cats, you look at the polling, and the polling had already changed. Right? It used to be in the Trump administration, people were saying we need to bring in more people to the country. It needs to be easier to come here. But since the Biden border crisis, since it became clear, and you know, we talk about Haitians overwhelming Springfield, Ohio, but that wasn't the first time Haitians have been in the spotlight during the Biden administration. Remember in September of 2021, when he was first in office, there were 15,000 Haitians living under a bridge in Del Rio, Texas.
That's right.
Yes, exactly.
Good recall, good poll.
And eventually what happened is these migrants were sneaking into the city of Del Rio to buy food and everything else. And the Texas Rangers eventually cracked down on that, leading to that photo where the guy on the horseback was keeping the Haitians out, which Biden then falsely accused him of whipping the Haitians, which he was not. And it was after that embarrassing moment that the Biden administration then came out and cleared out the bridge, including flying about 2,000 migrants back to Haiti. So, you know, this isn't the first time that migrants, or Haitian migrants in particular, have overwhelmed the community and sprung into the national spotlight. But that was a key incident in which the opinion did flip in the United States, and that now most people, the vast majority of people, want fewer immigrants. And it's stories like that's the reason why.
Well, Conn, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more writing from Conn and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.